Every season, some pitchers take a step forward while others take a step back. But just because their results looked one way last year doesn't mean it will carry over to the next. Today I'm looking at pitchers who struggled in 2025 but have the tools and track record to bounce back in 2026. Last week I covered 5 hitters I thought who were poised to rebound, and in this video I'll break down 5 starting pitchers who I expect to do the same. Each of these pitchers have already shown that they can produce at a high level, most of them for multiple seasons, and their 2025 numbers fell well short of both their peak and what I anticipate from them in 2026. There are a few names you might have expected to see that I didn't include, most notably Cole Ragans, Dylan Cease, and Kyle Bradish. I skipped them because they're more obvious bounce-back candidates, but I do expect strong seasons from all 3, and I'll dive deeper on at least one in my upcoming award prediction video. With that out of the way, let's jump into our first bounce-back candidate. In 2025, Sonny Gray took a step back from a results standpoint. While he remained durable, pitching 180 and 2/3 innings and surpassing 200 strikeouts, his ERA rose by 44 points year over year to 4.28. Despite that elevated ERA, there's strong reasons to expect improved results in 2026. Gray's FIP sat at 3.39, 89 points lower than his ERA, and the 11th best mark among qualified starters. His expected FIP was even better at 3.07, ranking 7th. Much of that gap between his ERA and his underlying metrics can be attributed to his elite strikeout and walk profile. In 2025, Gray posted a 26.7 strikeout rate and a 5% walk rate, good for a 21.6% strikeout minus walk rate, the 7th best mark among qualified starters. A major factor behind Gray's continued dominance is his breaking ball arsenal. His sweeper and curveball generated run values of 7 and 5 respectively in 2025, and both feature exceptional movement. The sweeper averaged 14.9 inches of horizontal break and 4.1 inches of vertical drop, both well above league average. His curveball averaged 12.7 inches of horizontal break and 13.7 inches of vertical drop, 3.7 inches above average in both directions. While both pitches are outstanding, the sweeper stands out as his premier weapon, holding hitters to a 183 WOBA and generating a 51.4% strikeout rate. One of the primary drivers of Gray's inflated ERA was his 329 BABIP against, 30 points higher than his 2024 figure and 41 points above his career average, making it the highest figure of his career. Some of that increase can be explained by contact quality. While his average exit velocity allowed actually declined by 0.7 miles per hour, his barrel rate and hard hit rate rose modestly. As a result, his expected batting average climbed by 15 points to 250. However, that expected mark still sat 12 points below his actual batting average, suggesting that not all of the BABIP spike was deserved. Additionally, his batted ball profile showed subtle but encouraging changes. His ground ball rate and pop-up rate both increased year over year, while his fly ball and line drive rates declined slightly. Home runs remain a concern. Gray's 1.25 home run per 9 inning rate ranked 15th among qualified starters, driven by a 14.5% home run to fly ball rate, the 7th highest in that group. While that rate sits slightly above his career average, it aligns closely with his 2024 figure, so significant regression may not be likely headed into 2026. Even so, Gray's consistently elite strikeout and walk rates combined with his dominant breaking pitches provide a strong foundation for improvement in 2026. A move to Boston and the support of an elite defense can further aid his run prevention. In 2026, 200 plus strikeouts with an ERA in the mid-3s is a very realistic outcome. Michael Soroka once looked poised to become one of the top pitchers in baseball, finishing second in the 2019 Rookie of the Year race after posting a 2.68 ERA across 174 and 2/3 innings. A sinker baller by trade, he generated a 53% ground ball rate and allowed just 0.72 home runs per 9 innings. At the time, he was one of the most promising young arms in the game. Then the injuries hit. Soroka tore his Achilles tendon in both 2020 and 2021, and later dealt with shoulder injuries. From 2020 through 2023, he threw just 46 innings total, missing the 2021 and 2022 seasons entirely. While relatively unexceptional on the surface, Soroka's 2025 campaign represented the second best season of his career, as he posted a 4.52 ERA over 89 and 2/3 innings. More importantly, his underlying metrics suggest the potential for a better 2026. His FIP of 4.23 and expected FIP of 4.21 both sat roughly 30 points below his ERA. His 3.53 expected ERA and 3.78 SIERA were even more encouraging. Soroka also recorded a 17.4% strikeout minus walk rate, ranking 33rd among pitchers with at least 80 innings pitched. Beyond the strikeout and walk profile, Soroka quietly limited the most damaging contact. While his average exit velocity and hard hit rate were roughly league average, his 6.7% barrel rate placed him in the 76th percentile. In other words, hitters weren't squaring him up consistently. He also made modest improvements to his batted ball profile. His ground ball rate increased by 2.5 percentage points, his line drive rate declined by 2.9 points, and his pull air rate dropped by 3.9 points to 18.8%. Though his pull air rate still remains slightly above league average, that reduction is a step in the right direction. The key variable for Soroka's 2026 outlook will be whether he can further reestablish his ground ball identity. That likely hinges on increased confidence in his sinker. While he didn't rely on it heavily in 2025, it graded out as the second best pitch by run value, and its 93.4 mph average velocity was the highest of his career. If that velocity holds, there's a reasonable case for expanding its usage and leaning more fully into the ground ball approach that defined his early success. There's some rotation uncertainty given the signing of Zach Gallen and the eventual return of Corbin Burnes. However, Burnes is not expected back until after the All-Star break, and if Soroka performs as his underlying metrics suggest that he can, he should have a clear opportunity to hold a rotation spot. Soroka is unlikely to return to his All-Star form in 2026, but the ingredients for a solid season are in place. With improved health, a strong strikeout minus walk rate, and continued progress towards his ground ball profile, a 130-plus inning season with an ERA under 4 is a realistic outcome. Coming off a breakout 2024 season, the Mets rewarded Sean Manaea with a 3-year, $75 million contract, betting that his success, fueled by a significantly lower arm angle, would stick. Instead, 2025 was derailed before it ever got going. Manaea strained his right oblique in spring training, and during rehab, a loose body was discovered in his left elbow. The injuries cost him the entire first half of the season, and when he returned, the results didn't match his 2024 breakout. In 15 appearances, 12 of them being starts, spanning 60 and 2/3 innings, Manaea posted a 5.64 ERA. But beneath the surface level numbers, there was real reason for optimism. What makes Manaea so fascinating is his extreme arm slot. Among left-handed pitchers who threw at least 500 pitches in 2025, his 16-degree arm angle ranked as the 5th lowest in all of baseball. That lower release angle creates an exceptionally flat vertical approach angle on his fastball. A flatter vertical approach angle gives hitters the illusion of rise, distorting swing decisions and generating whiffs at the top of the zone. Pair that low arm angle with a 7-foot extension, good for the 90th percentile, and that gives Manaea legitimate deception. That deception showed up in his strikeout and walk numbers. In 2025, Manaea struck out 28.5% of hitters while walking just 4.6%, producing a 24% strikeout minus walk rate. Among pitchers with at least 60 innings, that ranked 21st overall and 9th among starters, just ahead of Paul Skeens. As a result of his elite strikeout minus walk rate, Manaea's FIP, expected ERA, and expected FIP were substantially lower than his actual ERA. Manaea's FIP was 4.39, 1.25 runs lower than his ERA, while his expected ERA of 4 and his expected FIP of 3.3 were even lower. The primary driver of the gap between these metrics and Manaea's actual results was his elevated home run rate. Manaea allowed 1.93 home runs per 9 innings, the 9th highest rate among pitchers with at least 60 innings pitched. His home run to fly ball rate spiked up to 19.4%, up 10 percentage points from 2024 and 6.5 points above his career norm, ranked as the 6th highest in all of baseball. Expected FIP normalizes home runs to league average home run to fly ball rate, which is why it viewed him more favorably than FIP. Given that 2025 looks like a clear outlier in his home run to fly ball rate, there's strong reason to expect positive regression. Even StatCast supports that case. His expected home run total was 10, 3 fewer than the 13 he actually allowed. The core traits that fueled his breakout, the low arm slot, deception, elite strikeout minus walk profile, were still intact. What inflated his ERA was his abnormal home run rate over a small 60-inning sample. Assuming better health and a regression in his home run to fly ball rate towards career norms, Manaea looks like a strong rebound candidate. A 150-plus inning season with an ERA in the mid-3s is very attainable if the strikeout and walk profile hold. In 2025, Jack Flaherty took a significant step backwards from a results standpoint. Over 161 innings, he posted a 4.64 ERA, 1.47 runs higher than his 2024 mark. There were legitimate reasons for that year-over-year decline, but his overall line was also heavily impacted by 3 blow-up starts in which he allowed 23 earned runs across 12 innings. Those outings disproportionately inflated his season's ERA. Outside of those starts, his run prevention was far more in line with a mid-3 pitcher. For much of the season, while not as dominant as he was in 2024, he was still producing solid results. Looking at the underlying metrics, Flaherty appeared better than his ERA suggests. His 3.85 FIP set 0.79 runs below his ERA. Among pitchers who threw at least 160 innings in 2025, His 3.69 expected FIP and his 3.67 SIERA both ranked 16th in baseball, strong marks from a high-volume starter. Looking at his strikeout and walk rates, there was some slippage in 2025. His strikeout rate fell by 2.3 percentage points and his walk rate rose by 2.8 points year over year. Even so, his 18.9% strikeout minus walk rate still ranked 16th among pitchers with at least 160 innings. The primary driver of his inflated ERA was a 20-point increase in BABIP against. Notably, his expected batting average allowed rose by just 1 point, while his ex-Wobacon actually declined by 9 points compared to 2024. The elevated BABIP pushed his whip up by 21 points to 1.28, but much of that appears to be tied to batted ball variance rather than deteriorating stuff. Of all the players in this list, Flaherty's case may be the least clean, but there's still a credible path to improvement. His strikeout minus walk rate remained strong, his estimators were comfortably below his ERA, and a significant portion of his struggles stemmed from batted ball luck rather than structural decline. While a return to his 2024 peak may be unlikely, a sub-4 ERA with a healthy strikeout rate is a very realistic outcome in 2026. George Kirby had a very strange 2025 season. He began the year on the injured list with shoulder inflammation, and a lingering knee issue extended what became the first IL stint of his major league career. Around that time, Kirby lowered his arm angle from 37 degrees to 29 degrees, a notable shift that was likely tied to the shoulder discomfort. When he returned, he struggled for the first time in his career. Over 126 innings, Kirby posted a 4.21 ERA, up 68 points year over year and the highest mark of his young career. However, the underlying metrics suggest his season was better than the surface results indicate. His 3.37 FIP sat 83 points below his ERA, while his 3.25 expected FIP was the lowest of his career. Much of that gap was driven by a career-best 20.6% strikeout minus walk rate. One notable trend in 2025 was Kirby's reduced reliance on pitching within the strike zone. His zone rate dropped to 51.9%, the lowest of his career, while his 5.5% walk rate ranked as the 18th lowest among pitchers with at least 120 innings. It was still a personal high. Still, the slight increase in walks was more than offset by a 3.1 percentage point jump in strikeout rate, which rose to 26.1%. This adjustment appeared to pay off, with his 28% called strike plus whiff rate being the best mark of his career. That said, the lower arm slot had consequences. The altered release point reduced the movement separation between his slider and curveball, making the two pitches less distinct. At the same time, he largely abandoned his splitter, an important weapon in his arsenal. His slider, arguably his best pitch, saw declines across most key metrics year over year. While it's difficult to isolate exactly how much of that regression stemmed from the arm angle change, the reduced pitch differentiation likely made him more predictable and easier to square up. Heading into 2026, health will be the primary concern. If the lower arm slot was primarily a compensation for shoulder discomfort rather than a deliberate long-term adjustment, a return to his previous release point could help restore the sharper pitch separation that defined his earlier success. Importantly, the less zone-centric approach looks like a meaningful tactical evolution. Assuming improved health and even partial restoration of his previous pitch characteristics, there's strong reason to expect a substantial rebound for Kirby in 2026. All 5 of these pitchers share a common thread. They've already proven that they can perform at a high level, but 2025 didn't reflect their true potential. In each case, the underlying metrics tell a more encouraging story than the surface level results. The core tools that made these pitchers successful, elite strikeout minus walk rate, strong pitch arsenals, or deceptive mechanics, are still intact. With improved health, a return to previous mechanics, or simple regression to their typical performance levels, each has a clear path to bounce back in 2026. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe. It would really help the channel continue to grow. Thank you, and see you again next video.